No, oh, okay, so
You know what I
no,
mean?
no. What I mean is that. So, do you want to discuss the topic of the group where we spoke about what the One Piece theories are and why Luffy had to find the fruit?
Okay, yeah, tell me about that.
So, essentially, Worth asked the question as to why Roger found One Piece but didn't use it, and why he feels like why I feel like Luffy would be the one to find it.
Okay.
Or not find it, but use it. So, in my question, my answer to that is that I feel like the actual One Piece in itself is something that is technologically based, but also it relates to the Nika fruit because of Joy Boy. So I feel like it's a power that is very cartoonish, probably a little bit crazy, and probably looks ridiculous.
So it's a physical object.
Yeah, I reckon it's a physical object.
Okay.
That probably just looks outlandish. That's probably what makes everyone laugh at it, and that Roger probably realized himself that you can't use it without being the chosen one, Joy Boy.
You need to be a bit more specific. So could you maybe guess what it could be?
So I feel like Joy Boy, when he made the power before or during the Void Century, he infused some of his devil fruit abilities with it and his haki. So I feel like it's a power
With the
that,
One Piece,
yeah.
kind of
So
like what Joy Boy done with.
so kind of like what I feel like it's kind of similar to what Vegapunk was doing with his technology of combining devil fruits into objects. I feel like Joy Boy was able to combine some of his power of the Nika fruit into an object, which probably turned it to look like a cartoon, which was something just crazy and outlandish.
So Joy Boy can infuse some of his haki or his devil fruit into the One Piece.
I reckon it's both.
Probably both.
Yeah, because you saw that he was able to infuse his haki into the robot.
Yeah.
So I reckon with this he was able to combine both, and because he infused some of the devil fruit powers of the Nika fruit, it also changed the appearance of the object.
So what makes you think he can actually do that with his devil fruit? So I can understand how you could do that with haki, but how could you do that with a devil fruit?
I reckon we know that the
And
technology
that's assuming he has a devil fruit.
we knew Jobe had the devil fruit. It was confirmed that he was the original.
He was the original Nika, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah.
So we knew he had the devil fruit, and I feel like it was possible for him due to technology being way more advanced.
I get it. So you're trying to say, okay, because he's infused part of his devil fruit into the One Piece,
Yeah,
only someone who has the Nika fruit
can actually use the
access
One
it.
Piece. Yeah.
So insert Luffy.
Yeah.
So Luffy is basically the chosen one, essentially.
Pretty much. And I feel like, as it said, is whoever finds One Piece has the power to change the world. And just, I reckon it is something that is incredibly powerful, and it probably is another secret hidden weapon.
So on top of the secret weapons that we know about, like Pluton and etc.,
I reckon this is one we haven't been told of.
Something we haven't been told of.
And only Roger and Emu know that it exists.
So is this something to destroy the world?
Yeah.
Something greater than what we already know?
I reckon so. Something greater.
How many ancient weapons are there currently right now?
That we are aware of.
That we're aware of, yeah.
I think 4.
And what are they? So we got Pluton, we got
Saturn. No, you got Uranus. Yeah. No, ain't Shirahoshi a weapon?
She's a weapon, but what's she called again?
That's a
and
great
these
question.
Weapons are named after planets, no?
Yeah.
So we got Uranus.
We got the weapon that was in Wano.
What is that even called again?
I mean, it's not. What weapon is it in Wano?
Okay, give me 1 second. In Wano, what was it in Wano?
So the weapons that we're aware of are Pluton, Poseidon, and Uranus.
Yeah, I got it up. Hold on. You see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that format in the background.
God, that anime fell off so hard.
Free All Might.
Allow it, man. I've
So
seen how
ancient
it ends.
weapons.
I've seen how it ends, man. Allow it.
You see how it ends, isn't it?
Yeah, it's terrible. That and Demon Slayer had the worst endings of any
The
manga.
worst ending, isn't it? I haven't read it, but I've heard about it.
What,
It
the
does
Demon
sound.
Slayer one?
I heard the Demon Slayer one, and I
Oh
heard the
God,
and I
the
heard the My Hero one.
Demon Slayer ending was atrocious.
Do you know that's the problem with these anime? Is that it's you start off really well, but ending it is just difficult, and you're just hoping One Piece doesn't fall into that bracket because
The
almost
only one
every
that's
manga.
ended, that had a decent ending was Jujutsu Kaisen.
But I heard it's gonna get a part 2 potentially.
Yeah.
I haven't read it, but what do you think it's gonna get part 2?
It's left the ability to get a part 2, but if it doesn't, I'm happy with how it's ended.
You're happy with how it ended. Okay. So what do you give the ending out of 10?
A solid 8.
A solid 8. Is that your opinion, or is that like the
That's my
opinion
opinion.
of like most people?
That's my opinion.
So what's the opinion of most people?
A lot of people were, because it's a bit of a cliffhanger ending, but it's a good ending at the same time. So I feel like the story won't be complete until there is a second season, a second manga. But if you don't do one, I don't see people complaining.
So
I feel like they've left it in a good place.
you left it in a good place, Fairs.
Yeah. So I feel like the writer, he will go away, he will rest and recoup for a bit, and then he'll come back.
What's his name? What is it? Is it Gege?
What?
Is it Jorge? Is it Gege? His name, the writer's name?
I can't remember his name, bro. Come on, just.
I know. Back to One Piece, man.
Yeah, back to
JJK gets his another day.
We're a One Piece channel, man.
We got Pluton, we got Poseidon, Uranus. That's 3, no?
Yeah.
I thought it was 4. Was it 3?
No, it's 3. I was wrong.
It's 3. So Pluton, Poseidon, and Uranus. So Poseidon would be the Mermaid Princess.
Yeah.
Pluton would be the ship, and Uranus, we're not too sure what that is, but that's
Uranus
probably
is
on
Emu.
Wano, right?
No, Uranus is the weapon that Emu has.
Okay. So we do know all 3 now.
Yeah, Uranus is the weapon that Emu was using to wipe islands off the map.
I wonder what that is exactly.
And that's the weapon. That's why the Gurusei needed the Mother Flame
to power it, innit?
Yeah.
So nothing is currently known about Uranus except its name, given the nature of Pluton and Poseidon. Uranus could easily be and why am I reading like this is school? I can't read, bro. Why am I trying to read? People used to laugh at me when I used to read in school. I'm not trying to do this.
I wasn't one of them.
I cannot read.
We don't need to read it no more, man.
Alright. So there's a 4th weapon that you're assuming.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that One Piece is a 4th ancient weapon that was created by Joy Boy. With the Nika fruit. And I feel like this is probably the only thing possible to destroy the Grand Line.
So you don't think any of the other weapons could destroy the Grand Line?
No.
Well, not the Grand Line, the
red line.
Is it the Red Line? Yeah.
No, I feel like this is probably the only thing possible.
So how big is the Red Line? Spans across the whole world, no?
I think it ain't 10,000 meters below and 10,000 meters above.
Oh, damn. So do you need to destroy the whole Red Line, or
you need to destroy the whole Red Line to free the seas?
Because don't you just need to destroy part of it?
I reckon you need to destroy enough of it to allow the sea to do the rest.
Okay. And you think the One Piece does that?
Yeah. And I feel like the One Piece is probably the only power able to stop Emu's plans of rising the sea levels. which is why it's a race to see who gets it
Hold
first.
on, wouldn't destroying the red line actually
It would actually
increase this?
spread. It would actually spread the sea back out.
But isn't according to
Because you
physics?
think the red line is essentially a massive rock. The one is the density is causing the sea levels to rise as well, and also two, it's a void that the sea can't fill. So when it's destroyed, the sea is then able to refill that void with water, which will then lower back the sea levels.
Interesting.
So since the creation of the red line, the sea level has only risen. And in fact, what we learned is that probably during Joy Boy's time is that the world was probably mainly land and probably a little bit of sea.
According to Vegapunk's theory, anyway, yeah.
Yeah. And I reckon with Emu destroying each island, he's increasing the sea level.
Why do you think Emu's doing this then? What's his plan? Like, why is he doing this?
Well, his plan is he wants to create a race of people that he himself can control and have full control over.
So he's basically Hitler.
That's a strong way of putting it. Pretty much.
He's a One Piece Hitler.
Pretty much. If he can't control you, he's just going to get rid of you.
So, do you think Emu is a man? Do you think it's a woman? Do you think it's that woman that they were talking about? What's her name again?
The true queen, the one whose name was left off the list of the 20.
Because I'm not really into the theories on the YouTubes and that, but
I
I've
have
heard people assume it's her.
I have no idea who or what Emu is. What I do know is that they have an ability to not age, to have lived the 900 years.
That's the only thing that's probably a fact. Probably, anyway.
Yeah. Unless there's a secret bloodline that no one else is aware of, where everyone inherits the power of Emu. And
which is maybe
for all we know,
bloodline, potentially.
For all we know, Emu could be the pure embodiment of a devil fruit that's got the ability and body of its own.
Of the sun?
Yeah.
Did you say the sun? Why the
no,
sun?
No, I said for all we know, I said Emu could be a pure devil fruit that's got the ability and embodiment of its own. That when you eat the fruit, it fully takes you over and reborns as Emu.
Well, damn. It could be anything. We need to know a little bit more about Emu.
That's just a crazy theory I threw out there. But
so that's your theory, yeah?
Well, unless immortals exist in One Piece, that's the only theory that I can come up with. Then that would also tie into that devil fruits have a will and power of their own, which also links each user to the fruit. So that's what my theory is with this.
Any other theories you got?
Is that my other theories that I spoke of actually relating to the One Piece is that I said that had Roger been the one to find the Nika fruit, I believe that he also would have awakened it due to him being actually more similar to Luffy than people actually realize.
You did say that before. Because how do you wake up? Okay, I'm going to ask you some questions and you're just going to fire back. So, how do you awaken the Nika fruit? So, what qualities do you need as a person to awaken the Nika fruit? And then we'll see if Roger has those qualities.
So in my mind, is the Nika fruit is you need to have the embodiment and spirit of Joyboy, which is freedom, and wanting those around you to be free. Whether you liberate something on purpose or accidental, your main purpose is freedom and joy. That was Roger. That's also Luffy.
That's Luffy. But do you think that's enough to awaken the Nika fruit by itself?
No, I believe you also have to have extreme levels of haki.
Extreme levels of haki. Now, you think Luffy had extreme levels of haki at that moment in time?
Maybe not extreme, but he was.
So do you think it's one of those
he had very high levels.
The devil fruit recognizes him?
Yeah, he had enough for the devil fruit to recognize him and accept his power. But also, you have to have a crazy imagination. You have to be a little bit crazy.
But do we know if Roger has that?
So, from what we've seen of Roger, especially during his younger days, is that he was very careless, and he just did what he wanted as he wanted when he pleased. That sounds a lot like Luffy.
Mm.
Also, I believe that is what your dreams have to tie in with the fruit.
What? And we were talking about this before. So, what would be the dreams of both these characters, Roger and Luffy?
So it's confirmed that Shanks has confirmed it, and so is Rayleigh, that um, Roger and Luffy have the exact same dream. And Luffy's even said that whenever he tells anyone his dream, everyone laughs,
Mm.
which means his dream is something crazy that no one could imagine.
Could you guess? I have a guess.
So I believe that his dream probably involves destroying the Red Line, that combining all the seas of the world,
All the
which would
seas of the world.
which would then actually end up creating all blue.
But when did Luffy say this? I'm gonna try to find this.
So it was, I said it to you, it was either after
I
he
think I
left
found it.
Wano, it was either after he left Wano or after he left Dressrosa.
I think I
Because,
found it. Can you see that?
yeah,
This is it, isn't it?
yeah.
Because I always assumed I always knew what Luffy's dream was, but when this came out, I was like, hold on, is this a second dream? Because we already assumed we knew what
No,
Luffy's dream was.
so they said his dream was never actually to become king of the pirates. His dream was freedom based.
Because you remember when it was Luffy, Nami,
Yeah, so that's it.
Sanji.
His dream is to have a party with everyone from the world.
Is that what he says now?
Yeah,
That's the same dream as Big Mom, though.
as Roger.
Big Mom has the same dream as well.
Yeah, but Big Mom was a little bit evil about it.
Very evil.
Hers weren't really an invitation. It was you have to turn up.
But you gotta turn out, man.
Turn up or she destroys your whole island.
Before she eats a whole island.
Yeah, that too. Or turns you into a book.
I was watching that today. Funny enough, I was watching that today when I was editing the video. I seen that she put everything in a book. I was like,
See, look, now look, everyone's gonna laugh now that you said his dream.
Mm.
See, I told you.
I like it. That's great. Something that ridiculous. Maybe it's possible once I become the king of the pirates. Something to do with all the races.
Yeah.
Something to do. It's either something to do with all the races, something to
It's
do
something to
with
do with all the
all the
races.
seas, something to do
But it's something to
with
do with
only
all
the
the
pirates can kill.
races. See, look, you told Shanks.
And then this leads into the theory that you had before
That,
that the reason that Shanks gave Luffy the hat is because he had the same dream as Roger.
yeah,
And
I
no one
believe.
has ever said that before.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yep. That Luffy, as a young boy, had the same spirit as Roger.
Mm.
So I believe that Luffy also inherited Roger's spirit. Which is why I believe that had Roger found the Nika fruit, he would have awoken it. I believe that their spirits and fates are intertwined.
Funny because a lot of people would like to think that Ace potentially could have been the chosen one if he was still alive, but based off what you're saying, that is definitely not the case.
No, Ace was never going to be the chosen one. He was, I believe, he was a bit too focused and driven and fixated on trying to prove himself, whereas Luffy was always carefree. And even though he had his goals and dreams, what he wanted, so even if he went about it the weird way, that's why I said to you that whether it came to liberation and freedom, however he went about it, either on purpose or accidental, Luffy's dream still somehow involves him liberating the world because he wants a banquet with everyone from the world.
Mm.
And the only way to do that is to free the world.
Look at that, man. I would love Luffy to say that to Big Mom's face and see what Big Mom does. Look, bitch, I'm trying to do what you're doing, but I'm trying to do it better. You know what I'm saying?
And yeah, and the only way that's possible is destroying the Red Line. And Luffy is now aware that him becoming king of the pirates is the only way to make his dream happen. So he never actually wanted to be Pirate King, but Pirate King was the only way to make his dream true.
Fairs. And then it ties in with the
With
prophecy
Roger as well.
at
Remember, Roger
Fishman
said,
Island. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
And everywhere he goes, he takes over as his territory. And remember, Roger never wanted to be king of the pirates.
Roger never wanted to be king of the pirates. Is that true?
Yeah, remember, Roger's words were, if you remember the flashback in Town, he says is that he doesn't want to be the king of the pirates. He just wants to be the freest person in the world.
Roger's... I can't spell either. Roger's speech.
No, this was a flashback with Luffy when Luffy was in Town, and then when Luffy's speaking, someone who Roger used to visit all the time, is again saying that Luffy's saying exact same words as Roger.
Okay, can't click on Crunchyroll. It's copyright. And I would take you down in an instant from experience. Hey, look at that. Our video. The Giants are weak. Who's the strongest race in One Piece? Look at that.
I don't believe the Giants are weak. I believe had they not been wiped out, I believe the Lunarians would have been the strongest race.
Yep. We'll get to that in a second, though. That's another topic. We'll get to that.
Yeah. But do you get why I say that Roger and Luffy were very similar and intertwined in that Luffy keeps saying the exact same words as Roger, and it's not coincidental.
Remember, remember, it was a flashback. This is actually one of the best episodes I've seen of One Piece. It was in one of when, like, do you remember what I'm talking about, right? When, what's the name? The girl that I don't like, Kaido's daughter.
Yeah, I know. Yamato.
Yeah, Yamato and Ace, and then Luffy was saying exactly the same things as Roger, and that debatably could be the best One Piece episode ever.
But you got to think that's one of how many instances where Luffy has
one of a couple.
But it's more than once. It's more than twice. It's more than 3 times where Luffy has said the exact same words as Roger, a man who he has never met, a man who he actually knows nothing about. All he knew of Roger was that he was Ace's dad. But this man is so much like him. So that's why I feel like Luffy and Roger's fates were intertwined. That Luffy was to be born when Roger died. And that and that obviously I believe that when on Laugh Tale, Roger learned of the Nika fruit. And that's how Shanks was aware of what the Nika fruit was and knew to steal it from the Marines.
Interesting. I wonder who...
The Marines originally had the fruit until Shanks stole it.
And I'm assuming the Marines had the fruit. They knew what the fruit was, of course.
Yeah. Of
Were
course
they trying? I'm assuming they knew. Obviously, the Goro said about it.
Everyone, the top level of the Marines knew what the fruit was.
Activated. Do you think the Marines were going to use it, or they were just going to keep a hold of it, knowing that they
said they was planning to give it to a Marine,
but they have to give it to the right Marine.
Yeah,
it seems like they know enough about the fruit that they can't just give it to any person. That not
so they was planning to give it to a Marine, which I feel like they was probably going to try and give it to Garp.
Why Garp? Because that seems like a stretch for Garp.
Maybe why Garp? Right, maybe.
Because or maybe Garp's also an old man.
Yeah. Or maybe it could have been.
Do you think it would be a Marine, or do you think it would be someone part of the world government? Because
maybe someone part of the world government would have made more sense. Maybe the world government would have made more sense, but
you know what I mean.
Yeah,
I don't think they would give it to anyone. The reason I don't think they would give it to anyone because
for me, but the reason why, but then for me, that kind of ties back into my theory is that the reason why they knew what the fruit was and why they wanted it and why they were so desperate to find it ties back into my reason that I believe that One Piece can't be used without the fruit, and I believe that the top levels of the Gurusei and Emu is aware of that. Because I said it before. I don't believe Roger was the first person to reach Laftel. I believe he was just the only person during the pirate era which they documented.
Of course, someone should have got what are you so? Someone made it to Laftel. Was it within the 800 years? Was it before? Was it after? Like, what period?
I reckon within the 800 years of Roger reaching it, I reckon someone else had reached it, but never documented, or it wasn't during the pirate era, so it probably wasn't a big thing where
Question:
there was no threat to Emu.
Do you think someone made it to Laftel by accident? Because I'm assuming
by
it's
accident.
just an island. People can get to Laftel, but they don't know the importance of Laftel, so it's just an island.
I reckon it was by accident. Because it is an island, but also I do believe to reach Laftel, you do have to be a very powerful person.
Is it kind of like like have you ever played the Pokemon games, right?
Yeah.
You can't just be at a certain level and just make it to the Elite Four. You have to kind of gain strength to make it to the Elite Four.
So I said that's why I said that to reach Laftel, you have to be a powerful person. You have to be strong. Because I reckon just to reach Laftel itself is life threatening.
Okay.
But I reckon whoever it was that probably did reach Laftel was probably never a threat to Emu or someone who was even aware of Emu or the world government in that fact.
Because you need to get to Laftel and have intention. If there's no intention, it doesn't matter. It's just an island. But if you have intention, that's when it becomes dangerous.
Yeah. And now the whole world is aware of Laftel. But then you got to say is how many people was even aware of Laftel before Roger?
Interesting.
Before
Roger, so is it the era before, or was it the era?
Before the era of pirates, how many people was even aware that the island existed?
There could have been, like you said, someone may have made it there, but I'm assuming there's been no threat to the world government over this for about 800 years until Roger came
until the age of the pirates, and pirates obviously represent rebels and rebellion. So eventually, from that pirates, someone was going to rise up to rebel against the world government, which would be a threat to Emu.
This is a question before we kind of start talking about maybe one or two more theories, and then maybe talk about the chapter. But I'm assuming with Emu, right? Essentially, they've been living in not peace, but things have been going right for Emu until the pirate era, you could say, right?
Yeah.
Why is it taking him or her so long to actually gather all these ancient weapons?
I believe that either he didn't know the location of them.
Because think about it, if he's been around since the Void Central era, you'll think 800 years is enough time to gather all the weapons, gather enough intel to actually do what he wants to do. And it doesn't. If you think of it like that, it doesn't really make sense. You know what I mean?
Look, that is true. And you gotta think is that one of the ancient weapons is an embodiment of someone's spirit.
In Poseidon, right?
Yeah. So how does he go about how does Emu go about getting that?
Reading the poneglyphs. If you read the poneglyphs, I don't know if you can read the poneglyphs or not. Then he'll be able to
I think Emu would be able to read the poneglyphs.
If he can read the poneglyphs, he should be able to predict that one of the mermaid princesses or queens would be the new Poseidon. It would be pretty easy.
So the only way to stop that is that you let it happen and then capture it when it does. But how do you know which one it is? Or two, you just kill them and wipe them out before it happens.
I think he could do it. He's the king of the world now.
Yeah, that's true.
And this is when.
But how does he do it
without?
But how does he do it without exposure of himself?
He can. Marines CP9 agent, CP0 agent, he can definitely do it. This is when I'd probably start agreeing with Worth, because if Worth was safe, we'd probably start saying that shows incompetence. If you have this knowledge and all these resources, but you're not able to kind of use these resources and this knowledge, and it's
Yeah,
taking you so long to actually get to this point, it shows incompetence. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Assuming that is just how it is, obviously we're just guessing theories. None of this is facts. So if Worth was set and he said this to you, how are you going to back it up? How are you going to back it up? How are you going to defend yourself? I'm talking as Worth. I'm in Sumble right now.
Hmm. So there is no answer as to why they could or couldn't. Like there's no way of knowing. Emu could essentially do whatever he wanted. I mean, until Vegapunk exposed the fact that Emu existed, no one knew, and no one knew that it was Emu that was wiping islands off the face of the earth.
Hmm. No one knows. True. No one knows.
So maybe it could have been done, but how do you destroy Fishman Island without exposing yourself? It's not as if it's an easy place to get to.
Do you have to destroy Fishman Island?
Well, how do you stop a princess mermaid being born without destroying it or taking out the royal bloodline?
Enslaving all of them, enslaving all of them, or having a system where every woman, every mermaid that has been born has to be given up to the world government. You can figure it. You can really figure it
Yeah,
out.
yeah, so that is
They've done
possible.
this in other media. You know, when every child who's been born under the age of 2 has to be this and
Yeah,
that. You know,
no, that's true. That it is possible. So yeah, I haven't got no counter argument as to why Emu didn't do it or why they never thought about doing it. Maybe it could have been the fact that Emu is overconfident and doesn't believe that there is anything that's a challenge to them.
until Roger came along, or until Luffy came along. Either one.
Yeah, until Luffy came along and awoke in the Nika fruit. Maybe Emu was always aware that the only real threat to them is the Nika fruit, which is why it was so important that it got captured, and which was why that when it was taken, they tried so hard to cover up the identity of the fruit.
Hmm. Because they did say the Nika fruit has eluded them for however long. That's what the Gorosei said. I
Yeah.
remember.
So I believe that the Nika fruit is the only way to stop Emu.
Of course, it makes sense.
So maybe Emu feel that the ancient weapons are not a threat to it, especially when they have one themselves.
So the ancient weapons aren't a threat to him, but the Nika fruit is. So when the Nika fruit is now awakened, okay, now it's red alert. Now we need to start moving. Now we need to start acting.
Yeah.
That makes sense, but also still shows the incompetency of the Gorosei. But it makes sense if they've already stated that the Nika fruit has eluded them for so long. I'm assuming because of the will of the Nika fruit.
Yeah, the will of the Nika fruit was always freedom and liberation and knowing
Mm.
how to stay free.
And the world government is basically the opposite of that. So it's going to try its hardest to elude
And you got to
world
think
government.
the last before Luffy, the last person to eat the Nika fruit was Joyboy, the last person to almost defeat Emu.
Do you think that was the last person to eat the fruit or the last person to awaken the fruit?
I reckon it was the last person to eat the fruit
Mm,
entirely.
entirely. So
Yeah.
you don't think other people have potentially eaten the fruit before and just never awakened it?
No.
Okay.
I think I have a theory that the fruit, because remember the fruits know when to manifest themselves as well and reappear in the world.
Okay.
The
That
fruits
makes sense.
and the fruits always choose their owners. So you never,
So it's definitely got a will of its own,
yeah.
even before it's been.
Every fruit has a will of its own. That I feel like that's why I feel like it was always fated that Sabo would be the one to inherit Ace's fruit.
Mm.
So I believe that I have a theory that the Nika fruit only appeared itself in the world once Luffy was born.
So, okay. Once Luffy was born, Fez.
So
So,
I believe that
okay.
it never actually, so it may have been somewhere in the world, may have been on the island somewhere just or hidden, or but I believe it only went out to sea and became visible to the world once Luffy was born.
Mm.
The fruit, I believe every devil fruit knows who its owner is going to be. which is also the theory that Vegapunk said.
Yeah, which is on screen right now. If anyone doesn't know.
Yep.
Okay. Do you have any other theories before we maybe dive into the chapter?
So, besides Luffy and Nika, besides Luffy, Joy Boy, and Roger's fates being intertwined in them all having the same dream and spirit, and that without the Nika fruit, you can't attain the One Piece. No, I don't have any more theories at the moment.
I guess we'll leave that for the theory section.
Yeah.
That's calm. That's a good segment, actually. Do you want to chat about what happened in the chapter? Because I can get the chapter up and you want to have a skim
Yeah,
through
yeah.
it
I've
quickly.
been reading it while we've been talking.
Oh, okay.